Okay, I'm at Studio 130 and tonight I was booked to perform. Grand opening. This is in Galloway, New Jersey. This is your girl, the hood's favorite female poet. Guys, don't forget you can book me. I do travel, and follow me on Facebook, the hood's favorite female poet, as well as Instagram at the poet Michelle. Peace. Every time before I go out and perform, I always ask God to lead the night. So this is what He wants, obviously, because He's in control. So I'm gonna do 3 pieces for you. It usually doesn't run like this, but I want y'all to follow me, follow this story, follow my journey. He said if He be the king, then I was meant to be the queen. I started writing, I think, around 12 years old. My parents had divorced when I was probably about 8, and by the time I was 12, I guess my mom noticed probably I wasn't handling it well or whatever was going on in life, and she actually got me a journal so that I could write my thoughts in the journal. And from there, my thoughts turned into short stories, and from short stories it turned into poetry. So I have my mother to thank for introducing me to writing. My mother is actually a published author I was about to say as well, but I'm not a published author. Not yet, we're working on it. But so yeah, my mom is really the driving force when it comes to how creative I am right now with writing and with acting, because she's always been supportive, and she was always the one like putting me in creative writing classes, journalism classes as a kid. And when I was doing little skits and stuff like that, she never discouraged me. She actually kind of like cheered me on. So yeah, that's how I started writing. Thanks, Mommy. That statement had me at hello. Always thought highly of me, always had me at first. No kids, so I was always his pride and joy. It was like we was ripped from your favorite rap song about a thug falling in love with a good girl. I never asked him to be a kingpin, drug lord, gangster, pimp, or a rude boy. But it seems our environment had him destined to be this way. But me, I saw more in him than he saw in himself, and even though we were addicted to the same thing, fast money, fast life, I was trying to leave. He was trying to convince me this was the life that was meant to be, us against the world, baby. His slick tongue always did something to my ears that affected my heart, that made it hard to leave the streets, and him went hands in hand. Couldn't leave one without feeling my loyalty being in jeopardy or being questioned. I was birthed a rider. Long history of strong women standing by their king's right hand high, ready to die if need be. Vows not on paper, but in the crevices of our souls, hearts, and running through my bloodline, for better or for worse, on the front line, for my king. I actually do remember my first home that I actually shared with people, shared with my class. I was in Ms. Walker's class. It was like 5th or 6th grade. I went to Sunshine Christian Academy in Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to Sunshine Christian Academy. And I actually wrote a poem called Lost Souls and Lost Dreams. Yes, I was like in the 5th grade writing about that. But at that time, I was living in Columbus, Ohio with my grandmother, and I read an article that kind of, I guess I didn't know it back then, but I guess I could say today, like it changed my life. Around that time, they had like a huge problem with gangs. I don't know if it's still like that, but I know in Ohio there was like an issue with gangs, and the kids had to be initiated into these gangs, and they had to do things. So this young boy, to get into a gang, he had to shoot into a crowd in the mall. And I read that article and it scared me. See, I don't remember if I'm getting it confused with, it was like two separate situations, but I just remember after that I was scared reading that article. I remember finding out one day that people were shooting in a mall in Columbus, Ohio. The gang members were shooting at each other. And that story, it didn't scare me like, oh, I was scared to go to the mall or I was scared to go outside. It scared me to the point that I didn't want to end up being one of those kids who lost their dream and then ultimately ended up losing their soul. That was what the poem was about. It was about losing your dream, not staying focused on your dream. And because of that, you lost your soul. So I think that poem changed my life that situation, that experience changed my life, because from that day on, I don't think I ever really wrote about flowers or love or anything like that. I always wanted to write about the human experience. I always wanted to tell people stories through poetry, through spoken word. I just didn't really understand that and know that at that time, but now looking back and going back over everything that I've been writing about thus far, that's ultimately what got me to this point. And spoken word is so much passion is in it, and it's acting but not acting, because what you're saying is like you really believe in it. It's something that you feel, that you're passionate about, and I love being on stage. So to put those two together, it's just like a perfect fit for me. And then to be able to share my story and share the stories of the people in my community. Yeah, so that was the first poem I wrote, Lost Souls and Lost Dreams.
So where did these dreams come from? Lead a gang? Crazy talk. Briefcases hadn't been filled to capacity, so an exit wasn't in his plans yet. Or would they ever be? Cause they were in my dreams. King and queen, I wanted to live that for real, not just a hood fairy tale. Some young girl's motivation to do a bid with a drug dealer, a legend to the streets. I wanted to break the cycle of wanting to be the hood version of Bonnie and Clyde. He said I flipped the script on him. I told him I grew and I was just trying to take him with me. Then it turned into screams. Him saying he didn't want to make moves without me, but if I forced his hand, the streets would win, cause love don't pay bills. I let out a soft whisper, but what about my dreams? He said, we'll get at him. Then he hit me with his favorite line. If he be the king, then I was meant to be the queen. Then I had to remind him of history, that the queen has always protected her king. And I just wanted to protect him for not becoming all he was destined to be, a true king. Not a drug dealer dead at the age of 23 or incarcerated doing a crazy bid away from his king queen. Sounds crazy, but that was a dream I had for my king. So follow my story, y'all. We here to celebrate, right? We here to celebrate people that came together and made their dreams come true. It's a beautiful thing. I have an album out, it's called Queen Motivation. You can hear it online. And I put my dream down, picked it up, got in that street life, did some things I'm not proud of. And in the midst of that, there was a lot of people in this area that knew I was a poet. And they also knew I was in the streets. They knew I was stripping. They knew I was doing other things that I won't say because children are here. And they continued to call me a queen. And it made me feel so uncomfortable. I hated it. I hated hearing Michelle and queen in the same sentence. So recently, once I got back on track, I listened to a KRS-One lecture. And he said, when we call each other kings and queens, and we call each other gods, when you call someone that, they have two options. They can either denounce it, or they can try to rise to it. In the midst of that, I started to cry, because I realized that every single person in my community that kept calling me a queen, they are the reason I gave my life back to my dream. They are the reason I'm here tonight. He calls me queen without even knowing my story.
What would I be doing if I wasn't doing this? I would be doing this. I really have never thought about doing anything else. I believe this is what I was born to do. Ever since I was little, I've been reciting. They told me at 3 years old I was reciting The Wizard of Oz. I've been reciting and performing and acting. I've been really shy at times where it scared me to do it, but I've always, if you put me on stage, I will do something. Like, I will do something. I will come up with something right there on the spot if I have to, but I've always loved performing, and I've always loved writing since I can remember. So yeah, but if I had to pick, I would definitely want to be a mother. I would want to raise babies, lots of babies, and just give them the option to be whatever they were created to be. I would want to be the wife of a great man, a great king, and I would want to help him raise his babies and give back to this world. So yeah, that's what I would do if I wasn't driven to be a great spoken word artist, and ultimately the goal, I guess, is also to be a great motivational speaker. So if that wasn't what was on the table, then I would definitely want to be a mother, because I feel like being a mother would fill me up. It would give me a life purpose. And since I believe spoken word and speaking to people is my life purpose, that would probably be the only thing I believe that could substitute that.
My lines of poetry, I don't believe he has read a word. I am under the assumption that he has, but he must think it's fiction. 'Cause why would he use my name and Queen in the same sentence? Tears fall from my eyes. I am ashamed to think that I myself don't see myself this way, but a total stranger has deemed me the highest a woman could be, a queen. So I wonder, does he really know my story? If he could see my scars, my battle wounds, if my fear and pain had a taste and a smell that was thick and overbearing, then somehow he was able to taste and smell it, would he still look at me and call me a queen? Or would he simply look at me as a woman who has been scarred to the point of no repair? See, because every time he calls me queen, it is as if God is whispering in my ear, you are stronger than your biggest fear. And no amount of pain, hurt, or shame can steal away the beauty I had already placed inside of you. See, every time he calls me queen, it is if I am given a second lifeline, another shot to become closer to what that beautiful word queen means. So when I am in my darkest moments, I imagine what his voice sounds like calling me queen, and I am brought back. Because I think somewhere out there is a scarred king looking for his queen to remind him that he is a king. Thank you guys, you've been a beautiful audience.
I want to change the world. I know it sounds crazy, but I want to be the reason young women decide not to give up on themselves. I've personally survived so much. I was that girl who chose stripping and selling my body because I thought it was my only option, because I thought that's all I had to offer. I'm somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, somebody's aunt and friend. Society tends to look at women who get into stripping and sex work as nobodies, like no one loves them. It's not true. Every story can't just be chopped up as a drug problem or she's just a hoe. A lot of people would have never in a million years thought I would have ended up with a pimp, being abused physically. I had somewhat of a perfect life before I chose that life. My life had crumbled overnight, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I lost everything: my apartment, my car, my job. I was angry, and I hated myself for allowing myself to let my life fall apart. So I chose the street life. I thought it was a way to make fast money. I spent 3 years in that life. I met girls who had been in the game since they were 15, and I was meeting them when they were 25 and older. They would tell me stories of how they started, stories of how they met their pimp, and I started to pay attention to the fact that they saw no other way. Deep down, I knew I didn't have to do it. I knew I could walk away. I hadn't been broken down to the point where I believed I had no other option. But some girls, they don't have that train of thought. Their pimp or someone in their life planted a seed that they could only go but so far, amount to but so much. And over time, they continue to water that seed. So leaving the game to them sounds like crazy talk. In their eyes, I'm a traitor because I left the game. And I'm cool with that. But I hope I can reach the young woman who may have a little bit of hope deep down inside that there is more. I want her to hear my story, my spoken word, and know she can walk away. She can choose herself. Even if it's not being in the game. If she's dealing with an abusive relationship. If she's having to start over because she's lost everything. Or if she's having to make a decision about going back to school. I want her to know that it is possible. You're only one decision away from changing your life for the better. That is my chief aim in life. I want to change the world. And I believe that starts with how we as a society view our women and treat our women. I want every woman to know that she is a queen, no matter her past or her current situation. I want my story to be the light that may help someone find their own light. You are only one decision away from changing your life.
Queen, smoke the